What does Michigan's offense bring to the table to increase their chances of success in a critical 2021 season? Today I'm going to be reviewing my favorite team's offense, and tomorrow I will review their defense. And we're just going to talk about depth and stats for both of them. So let's just get right into it here. So first and foremost, what I want to remind everyone is the offense under Harbaugh until last year, I would say, has been the main issue when it comes to our success. Now, in 19 and 18, the defense was not the greatest either, but the offense under Harbaugh in his so far six years, he's entering his seventh. In his 6 full years of coaching, and games and all that stuff, his offenses have only scored an average of 32 points a game, which in an era of an offensive renaissance is not. That's nothing. That isn't even top 25 offenses. Harbaugh has rarely had top 25 offenses. He, in 2016, had the 11th scoring offense in the nation, and that was with Wilton Speight. In 2018, we had the 21st ranked scoring offense. Haven't had anything like those 2 years. And those 2 years were arguably our best years. So when Michigan's offense is in the top 25, things are normally good. Even if the defense is not the greatest, as long as it's good, Michigan normally has success if they have a competent offense. And this makes sense, as offense is the name of the game. So let's get right into it and talk about offensive starters. According to ourlads.com, Michigan at the wide receiver position will start Ronnie Bell, Cornelius Johnson, and Mike Sanistril. And their number 2 players for the wide receivers are Dalen Baldwin, Roman Wilson, and A.J. Henning. The wide receiver position for Michigan always has been full of talent, but let me just get to the point that it's not always properly utilized. A.J. Henning had a total of 6 receptions for 59 yards and an average of 9.8 yards per reception. Roman Wilson had 122 receiving yards and a touchdown. Ronnie Bell had 401 yards and a touchdown, led Michigan in receptions. Cornelius Johnson led in touchdown catches. Mike Sanistril had 2 touchdown catches, 82 yards. And Dalen Baldwin had nothing last year. I think he's a graduate transfer, yes, from a different school. And really the wide receiver room, as I previously mentioned, you always have talent there. Ronnie Bell, fantastic. Very good chance that he will be taken in the draft somewhere. Our lads has him projected at the 5th to 6th round. Cornelius Johnson and Mike Sanistril aren't projected, and they're juniors, and I can't imagine with the current state of Michigan's offense after last year that they wouldn't be projected under any preseason conditions. You have talent there, but I just look at how it's been mismanaged in the past, and I'm suspected as whether to trust it, especially with this weird pro-style spread offense that we've seen under Harbaugh since 19. There's been moments of high potential with this offense, higher than anything he's run before, but the results, there's been no consistency, which differentiates from his 2018-16 teams where they weren't as modern, but they actually produced some impressive results in games against ranked opponents, whereas this offense really hasn't, in all honesty. We'll now move on to the offensive line. Ryan Hayes and Carson Barnhart are your respective tackles. Trevor Keegan and Andrew Stuber are your respective guards, and Zach Zinter is your starting offensive center. And Zach Zinter is a sophomore. That kind of shocks me. I mean, I'm pretty new to just knowing Michigan's offensive depth. I've been a fan for years, but as someone who's just turning 18 and really has only gotten into football last year, I'm kind of shocked to see a sophomore starting at center. Just a little shocked at that, per se. This offensive line did struggle last year. I remember Michigan State getting to Joe Milton plenty of times, and even though Milton was not the greatest QB by any means, I had to feel bad for him because he didn't even have a chance to throw against a Michigan State defense that wasn't even that good. Our offensive line was just that atrocious. But looking at all of this here, I've heard that we only lost one offensive lineman last year in Jalen Mayfield, returning the rest and having them have an entire off season. They should be better this year, but I'm not expecting anything special either, just in general. I would expect this to be an average offensive line in the entirety of football, which would probably translate to average, maybe a tad bit below average in the Big Ten, just because, last year wasn't not the greatest at all. Ed Warner was let go as well, so you got a change in coach, and just last year's performance, I need to see some production before I say they're going to be amazing. At tight end, Eric All is the starter, no surprises here, and Luke Schoonmaker is the backup. Eric All last year had only 12 receptions for 82 yards, and I hear that he is supposed to be really good body, just good everything about him, talented kid, but with such limited receptions last year, again, need to see more out of him, need to see him be utilized more, have bigger plays before I can declare him to be anything special. And he's not projected to be drafted anywhere, according to ourlads.com. And then finally, we're getting to the positions that do have more interest surrounding them, namely because the two former starters last year transferred out in Joe Milton and Zach Charbonnet, who transferred to Tennessee and UCLA, respectively. Cade McNamara is the starter at QB, with freshman J.J. McCarthy as the backup, and Alan Bowman at third, and Dan Villari at number 4. So a freshman being ahead of Dan Villari, and Dan Villari has gotten a lot of praise by Jim Harbaugh for his athleticism. So this here, I think just proves that McCarthy is the talented kid that everyone from any fan base has said he is. He's really talented. He threw for several thousands of yards and several touchdowns at his high school in Florida and the one in Illinois. And part of me wants to say we should just roll with him, in all honesty, but again, I'm not in command. I'm just a fan reviewing stuff. So, him and Bowman, I find it interesting that Bowman's at third, and part of me has a feeling that even though Bowman's at third, a part of me feels that Bowman could make the jump from 3 to 1, depending on how things roll really quickly. I'm kind of in doubt as to whether Jim Harbaugh will start J.J. McCarthy, although I hope he does, kinda, because I hear and know that McCarthy's really good. He's improved through training camp. He's gaining weight, which was really one of his only downsides while being recruited. But Cade McNamara, the starter here, threw for 71 attempts, completed 43 passes, a 60% completion rate, which I criticized in an earlier video. But he was injured half the time, limited playing time, was younger back then, so I do expect some improvement, especially with the new QB coach being from the NFL and not really, I don't know. I kind of have more faith simply because the NFL factor, but I don't expect him to be anything great. I don't expect him to be even as good as Shea Patterson was, because Shea Patterson, in all honesty, was probably the most talented QB we had. And I just don't think Cade McNamara is that. He's going to have to prove to me that he is that in the games against Washington and Wisconsin and teams that'll have a solid defense or will throw everything at us. McNamara never threw an interception, though, last year. Only threw 5 touchdown passes for 425 yards. The passing game was not our strong suit last year, but as we'll get to in a different video, the defense was actually the bigger problem. If we had a good defense, we would not have had the losing record. The defense was a whole other issue. And then finally, for running backs, we got Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum as the number 1 and number 2 players, with Donovan Edwards, interestingly, at the 3rd string position. I say interestingly just because I really don't know why I even said that. But he's just starting week 1, so, I mean, if we're trying out our 3rd string guy, I think that's a good thing, especially against a team like Western Michigan, who's kind of a tune-up game against Washington in a very challenging regular season. And before I move on too quickly here, I want to talk about Alan Bowman. And because Alan Bowman last year threw for 1,602 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. And Alan Bowman has worked in the spread before. He's had his best year by completion percentage was 2018 with 70%. He threw for 2,638 yards that year, 17 touchdowns and 7 picks. That was his best year. I think the other 2 years after, 19 and 20, he struggled with some injuries. And then when Tyler Show transferred there, he decided to leave. So I'm hoping if he stays healthy, and if, let's just say, Cade is not the best guy, that he can step in and possibly command a higher up-tempo offense that we have needed for ages, as the spread is really the only offense that really works, with some exceptions, of course, in the college football landscape. And then finally, at running back, I'm going to talk about Hassan Haskins, Blake Corum. Hassan Haskins last year rushed for 375 yards and 6 touchdowns, and he did not have any receptions. That's an area where I think he will have to somewhat prove himself this year. No receptions last year. Can he catch the ball? Because having a running back who can catch the ball and do things with the ball in the air along with the ground is a huge plus. Blake Corum actually had more touchdown runs than Zach Charbonnet did, which to me is kind of a surprise. But his average was just under 3 yards per carry, 26 attempts, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Charbonnet, who's now on to UCLA, had 124 yards, a touchdown, 19 attempts. So it does look like Haskins was actually the main guy here. So it's really not a huge loss that Charbonnet had to transfer out to UCLA. Corum did have receptions too. He had 5 receptions, 73 yards, averaged 17.6 yards a catch. So from scrimmage, that totals to 147 total yards of offense by Blake Corum last year. Overall, I'm gonna tell you what I think of this offense. This offense, you put this offense under Ohio State's staff. This offense has the talent to get you to the championship game. I don't know, because of the recruitment and because of how Harbaugh's trained these guys, and I don't see too many big 5-star names right now besides the 2 freshmen, in all honesty, and Cade, and outside of like QB and running back, in all honesty, I don't see a whole, and Ronnie Bell as well, I don't see a massive just carousel of necessarily proven playmakers. And when I say quarterback, I don't even mean Cade, I mean McCarthy. That's just how much near faith I have in the kid. He's really good, really highly touted prospect. He, I think, was offered by even schools by the likes of Ohio State, who later went with Kyle McCord. Just really, I look at this offense, and this offense can get you to the championship game. This offense could even get you to the playoffs, but it has to be managed properly, and that's the issue I have. Michigan's offense just has to be managed properly. I mean, once again, Michigan only scores about an average of 32 points a game in all of Harbaugh's tenure. And that's kind of ridiculous in a certain sense, if we're being honest here. I mean, Michigan, if you want to win, you got to be scoring north, not south, of 35, even dare I say it, 42 points per game. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. And Josh Gattis, this will be a make or break year for him. I mean, it's a make or break year for Harbaugh anyway, but let's say Harbaugh somehow let's put the extremes out here. Say it's like 2016, or say it's like 2018. Say we have a great defense that props up the offense and Josh Gattis doesn't get it done and Harbaugh somehow has the consciousness to fire him. It's possible. Josh Gattis has not proven himself to be a great offensive coordinator. I have no clue why 24/7 Sports has him ranked a top 10 coordinator who's ready to be a head coach. I have no clue why he was included in those rankings. Matt Weiss at quarterbacks from the NFL. Mike Hart at running backs. I really like our running backs, not just because of the talent there, but because Mike Hart, rising through the ranks, he's one of our own. He's calmed down from sort of his hot-headed self. Jay Harbaugh moving to tight ends and special teams is better than I forget. I think he was at running backs last year, and he had no business coaching that. And then Sharon Moore at the offensive line position is really good, and having him as co-offensive coordinator should help even further with just the rhythm of the offense. But everything falls at the feet of Jim Harbaugh. Will Jim Harbaugh give it to his staff, have faith in his staff, and not be a control freak? Because let me tell you something. He's a control freak. You want to know what happens? The season's over. We've seen what he's done with the offense before. 2017, 2018, even 2019. Like every year he's been here, besides 2016, the one year where we scored a little above 40 points a game, the offense has not been what wins us anything. It just isn't. So he needs to change things up. Just let the guys, let them do their thing and see what happens. And, it's a make or break year. And it's important that this offense plays really well. Can't say that enough. I think this offense will be similar to last year's. I don't think it'll be as bad as the 2017 offense. What people forget is last year's offense was bad, but by points a game. And also considering the fact that we didn't play any cupcake games, which if we did, we probably would have scored north of 30. This offense, the 2017 offense, was far more atrocious than this offense. And that's disturbing. But the reason this offense looked even worse is because the defense sucked. The defense couldn't do anything. And in 2017, we had a great defense. So this offense, all I'm asking is you score north of 35 points a game. That'd be our second best scoring offense ever. That's what we need. We don't even need... we probably do to beat Ohio State to reach the Big Ten title. But if you want to show the Michigan fans, not just me, but like the Michigan fans who just want you to get back to 10-3 or get to 11-2 to keep your job, score north of 35 points a game, please. Don't play action pass on 3rd and 10. Don't run it up the middle like 2 times in a row unless you know for a fact or unless Mike Hart approves it, because I totally have faith for now in whatever Mike Hart calls. Just don't do it. Don't take control of the offense. Let Josh Gattis do his thing and let him do whatever he learned at Alabama, supposedly that made him such a great hire, supposedly again. Let them do their thing. Score north of 35 points a game. Score north of 40. Please, if you can, because they have the talent to do so. I just don't know if they have the staff, per se. That's all I have to say for this video. If you like this video, remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can watch more of my videos. I'm going to do the Michigan defense preview tomorrow, which will be just about as long. And I'm also going to release Friday my all-conference preview. It'll just include all the teams' records from every Power 5 conference And I'm going to try to do every Group of 5 conference too. But if not, I'll do at least every Power 5 conference along with probably the American, since Cincinnati and even UCF and others like maybe even SMU are in some kind of a ranked conversation here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys around.